Hello and welcome to the first episode of Gender Justice Nevada Presents Queer 2.0. I am Laura Hernandez, Family and Youth Services Coordinator with Gender Justice Nevada, and I have with me my lovely daughter, Christina Hernandez. Tell you a little bit about what this program is going to be about. Queer 2.0 offers perspectives and positions seen through the lens of sex gender diversity, which are certain to invigorate and educate. Join us each week as we explore intersectionality and internalized transphobia, shine light on sexual and intimate partner violence in queer communities, and share the latest on essential civil rights and public policy changes. From kink to poly, intersex to non-binary, sex worker to swinger, Queer 2.0 represents the inclusive spirit of Gender Justice Nevada to come together in joyful celebration of all of us who are sex gender diverse. We are here to lead in supportive change we really can believe in as we inform, connect, and empower each and every one of us. So I'm really excited to be here. This is an amazing opportunity for us at Gender Justice Nevada. And so today we're just going to focus a little bit on who we are as an organization and the work that we are doing in the community. Part of Gender Justice Nevada is our QAVP project, which is our Queer Anti-Violence project. And that includes all of our counseling that we provide at no charge, our counseling services. We also do survivor advocacy, and we do advocacy training. So part of what we do with QAVP is we train advocates. We have 50-hour trainings that we present to classes that begin about every 6 weeks. And the advocates in those classes learn from every aspect of intersectionality, how to support our communities. And then we also have our Government Affairs project, which we're really proud of and excited about. And with Government Affairs, we focus a lot on advocacy for civil rights violations. We're also working a lot on healthcare inclusion, and a big part of what we do with Government Affairs is our document change assistance project. So there are a lot of people that are in need of getting their documents updated and changed, and that can be a really long and scary process and a very costly process. So one of the things that we do is support folks through that with community partners that we have and lawyers that provide their services pro bono to do that kind of work. So anyone that's in the community that is in need of getting document changes done because they're changing their name during transition should certainly reach out to us, and we can provide that information. You can always go to our website, which is genderjusticenv.org, and find the information on how to contact us there. And then before the end, I'll give you guys some email addresses so that you can reach out to us directly. What I do with Gender Justice Nevada is Family and Youth Services. And I got into doing Family and Youth Services because of personal passion of mine that it was born from just finding myself in a position of having a child who was in need of support around her gender identity. And for those of you that have that saw the interview that I did with Chris and Rolando last week, you may know a little bit about our history. Christina is my daughter, and do you want to talk a little bit, Christina, about what your experience has been?
So my name is Christina. I'm male to female, so I transitioned from, I was assigned male at birth, and I transitioned to female when I was 11 years old. I transitioned in the 6th grade. I was very young. I didn't really know what I was doing. I really knew who I was, though, and that was a big part of why I was able to transition so young, because I had a very clear picture of who I was from the time that I was like 4 or 5 years old. I would have loved to have something similar to like what we're doing right now when I was transitioning, because there really wasn't anything. And it's been about 4 years, and it's really amazing to see that there's some stuff happening finally that is going in the right direction. I had a lot of struggles with that. I've done a lot. I've been bullied a lot. I've been through a lot, and I think like I've really like made me stronger through that. But it's definitely it's an intense process that I think has really matured me in a lot of ways by having things to do with these communities.
So I think from a parent's perspective, a lot of people, when they look at families that have trans kids, a lot of times they want to understand how that happens. And a lot of focus oftentimes is given to parents about how does that happen and how can a child know at such a young age. And aren't you supporting this and maybe pushing your child in the wrong direction? And could it potentially be or possibly be that the issue is more on the parent wanting the child to change than actually it being about what the child wants or who the child is? And I think that, you know, it hasn't been that long for me that I've been on this journey. So for me, I still remember being in that place. I remember when Christina was 4 or 5, and it was starting to become really clear to me that there was something going on with her gender identity, and reaching out and looking to try to find resources and to understand more about her, and learning that there were kids that were transitioning. And I remember thinking back then that it was crazy, that who would ever let their child transition at an early age, because a child couldn't possibly know. And that's what I thought, even with a child that was gender nonconforming at the time. And so what I've learned throughout all of this is that we can't tell people who they are, and that it doesn't matter what we do to push a child in either direction. You can try to manipulate or control a child like I did with Christina for so many years, to try to make them be what you think they should be, and it's not going to change anything. And on the flip side of it, a lot of people think that there's potential to push a child in the wrong direction, as if being around others who are trans or being educated about who trans people are could somehow influence a child to become transgender. And in that same way, that is just not going to happen. If a child is transgender, that is who they are, that is how they were born, and there is nothing that a parent or any other person can do to influence that or change that in any direction. It has been a definite challenge for me, as Christina was saying, for both of us, going through this journey together. You know, in the beginning, when I was helping her to kind of, you know, figure out where we were going to start, I didn't have any resources. What we had in the community was nothing. There were some national resources online for parents of transgender youth, like on Facebook, but there wasn't any support groups out here. There wasn't any resources, and you can imagine if you have a child in 6th grade who is transitioning from male to female, what does that look like at school? Who do you talk to? How do you go about that process? How do you even begin? And you can imagine how completely insurmountable that obstacle must be to people when all they want to do as a parent is support their kid, and all the child wants to do is be themselves, and there is so many obstacles standing in their way from just moving forward and being affirmed for who they are. And so what we did is just struggle through it, and I didn't know what I was doing. I found Gender Justice Nevada early on in our in the beginning, before Christina even transitioned, because I was worried that she was going to hurt herself. I knew that I wasn't supporting her adequately, and I didn't have the resources or the knowledge to do that.
Oh, you got a caller.
Should we take this?
Sure should.
Hello, you're on the air with Laura.
Hi, this is Chris Garcia.
Hi, Chris. How are you
How
doing today?
I just want to tell everybody out there, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
I just want to tell everybody out there, I'm watching this show, everybody out there in radio land and on YouTube watching. This is a great, fantastic show. You are a wonderful, amazing mother. Your daughter is absolutely beautiful, and this is a great show. You're going to help out so many people, and I encourage everybody out there listening to watch the show, support the show. You have the full support of Radio Tribune, and I think what you guys are doing is just fantastic. And like Chris was saying, you're so blessed to have this kind of organization, because years ago, this was not there for people. And I just want to ask you guys a question, and then I'll get off the phone.
Sure.
How much do you think this is going to help people? How much, people have a place now to organization to talk to? Because it has to be a lonely feeling if you're transitioning and you don't feel like you have anybody to talk to.
Well, I can tell you from my own experience that all that I wanted in the beginning, and well, even now, was to have peer support. I wanted to have other families and parents that were experiencing the same thing as me to come together with, to speak to lean on, because it doesn't matter how close a friend is or how close a parent is, if they really don't get it unless it's happening to them like the same way that it's happening to you. Not that people can't be allies or be there, but there is real special support in having others that are going through the same thing be there with you. And so for me, it's been an incredible and amazing gift to be able to provide the services that we're providing to the community. And I went into it with the intention that I wanted to bring to the community all of the resources that I wish that I had had when I was first going through this with Christina.
We're so proud of you, man. You're an amazing mother. And I know when I did the show with you, I learned more from you. I mean, you're just amazing. And you could be the dumbest, most prejudiced person on earth, but after you talk to you, and after you see your beautiful daughter, and you see how you helped her through this transition, I don't care how stupid you are, you're going to change a lot of minds out there and a lot of hearts. So God bless you. You guys keep doing great work, okay?
Thank you for that, Chris. Thanks for calling in. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that for me, having the resources, even though I'm the one that has kind of created this opportunity, for me it is incredibly supportive and helpful and continues to be. In the beginning, I started a support group, and it was just myself and one other mom. And we came together every week because we had started a group for kids, and the kids would meet, and we would meet in a different spot and just cry on each other's shoulders and be there for one another. And then our little group started to grow, and now we have almost 100 families. They're part of the amazing network of parents and family and kids that we support through our services. We meet every Saturday from 1 to 3. We have a support group that meets for youth, and then another that for the parents and family members. And then we even have a third space because we have a lot of young kids that are under 12 that sometimes find themselves kind of needing a separate space from the kids that are a little bit older and talking about more, more adult and advanced things than they're really ready to deal with yet. So we have a third space where young gender non-conforming and transgender kids can come together and just hang out and play and just be kids together in a non-judgmental and affirming environment. So part of Family and Youth Services, as I said, is our weekly groups that we're incredibly proud of the success of those groups. And then also what I do is I'm an advocate, so I work towards inclusion in schools. And that to me is absolutely my favorite part of the work that I get to do. When I first started trying to support Christina through her transition in school, I was met by roadblock after roadblock, and I had so much going against me, and I felt so helpless because I just felt like I had no power and nothing, even though I knew that we were doing the right thing for Christina, I felt like there just was no support for me and nobody really could get it. And there was nothing in place in Clark County School District to sort of support schools in what that process was supposed to look like. And so we started doing advocacy work. We started going to school board meetings and speaking to the trustees in a public forum. We started meeting with them one-on-one to talk about the work that we were doing and how important it was to support these kids. And we started going along as advocates with families who have kids that are transitioning and going to the meetings with the schools to support them through those meetings. Initially, we had a ton of pushback. It was not easy. We didn't always succeed in getting the kids what they needed. But slowly but surely, because we continued to push, we started to make progress with them. And so we started to notice that things were getting a little easier, that there was information that was at least going on behind the scenes within the district where principals seemed to have already been aware of what was okay to do and not okay to do. We didn't get as much. I'll get back to you. I need to talk to the legal team, as we did in the beginning. And then we came into contact with the Equity and Diversity Department of Clark County School District, and they have just been our best allies. They have started coming with us to the school meetings, and they do the training. So the Equity University does all of the cultural diversity training throughout the district for administrators and teachers. That's generally what they do. And so they started allowing us to come along and present on such gender diversity when they would do trainings. Most especially when we had a specific situation like with a school where there was a student that was transitioning and the school was just really not prepared to support them and they needed kind of information and support, and we would come along and do that. And so we started building and doing that. And over the last 3 years, I've supported 55 students through their transition in Clark County School District. And we now have been fortunate enough at one of our recent school board meetings that the board voted 7-0 in favor of creating a team that will work together over the next few months and the first half of this coming school year to implement a policy to protect transgender students. Prior to this, even though the school district has been supportive in that, when we would go to a meeting with a young person, we would go and we would talk to the school about updating the student's name in the system, which I'll talk more about in a minute. And we will talk to them about facilities. So which restroom is the student going to use, which locker room are they going to use, and what PE class are they going to be in. And then we would also talk about confidentiality. So when a student is transitioning, sometimes they're already there before, so students and teachers already know. Sometimes they're starting off at a new school, so we have to determine who's going to know, how are we going to keep their information safe and confidential, and how we're going to make sure to protect them and keep them safe. So those are the kinds of things that we talk about during the school meetings. Back in the beginning, a lot of the issues that were caused because the student's name and gender marker in the role and in the system did not match their chosen gender identity and their chosen name. And so that created a lot of issues. Do you want to talk about how some of those things affected you?
Yeah, sure. So when I first transitioned, my birth name and my birth gender were still within the school district system, and so I was going by a different name with like people that I was friends with and with teachers that I had told because I had let the school know that I was going by a different name. And but my name was still my birth name in the system. And so when I would go into class, teachers didn't really respect that, and so I got a lot of pushback from teachers about that. I had teachers tell me that like my name was stupid, that it was not close enough to my birth name, and so they weren't going to call me that because it wasn't close enough and it was too hard for them because that's what matters.
Yeah, it was about how easy it was for the teacher.
Yeah,
not what was best for you.
I would go to lunch and I would try and get school lunch, and my old picture was in the system, so that was one part of that, and then my birth name and my birth gender were in the system, so I would go to get lunch, and they'd be like, "That's not you," and I'd be like, "Well, yeah, it's me," and like I'd have to explain my entire story to them, and they'd explain like what was going on, and just that I was even having to explain this to a lunch lady in the first place was ridiculous. But that one time they turned the screen around and were like pointing at the name, and they're like, "That's not you," and they were pointing at the picture, and they were like, "That's obviously not you. Like, why are you trying to use someone else's money?" Like, and there's such an issue with that. I remember one time I was in the lunchroom and they decided that they were going to call me to the office, and that a woman in the front of the lunchroom was going to, on a microphone, call me by my birth name and make me go up to the front, and so I was humiliated and had to go up to the front of the lunchroom because they called my birth name trying to get me to go up to the front. And it was just so many different things that contributed to just me feeling completely alone with them. I mean, 6th grade is not an easy year for any kid. Middle school is not an easy couple of years for kids. High school is just not easy for kids, and especially when you're dealing with things that can really be very touchy. It's very, very hard to navigate that. I mean, I was 11 and having people treat me like I was some kind of monster, and it's really, really just not okay. And I think people need to understand that I'm not an idea, and that I'm a human being, and I have feelings, and that things affect me just like they affect any other 11-year-old kid, and I think people lose complete empathy for kids when they don't understand something, and I think they lose empathy for anyone when they don't understand something. So I think it's
I think
I'm sorry if I went off track with that.
No, I think that you make a great point, right? So you see so much commentary and articles that are written about transgender kids or trans people, and a lot of what you hear, it talks about this leftist agenda, as if somehow there's people that are coming together to conspire to change others and to ruin the world as it is. And and they forget that caught up in all of this are people and kids. And I read an article recently here in Las Vegas, written by somebody that was trying to make that point and say that this was all part of the leftist agenda. And I mean, take a look at me, take a look at my kid, take a look at so many of the other kids that we serve through our organization. We are people. We are human beings. We are struggling through a very challenging life that we have, around these issues. This isn't easy. Nobody would choose to go through these things. Nobody would want their child to have these kind of struggles in their life.
Yeah.
And
then on top of that, and on top of all of that, made to feel like you somehow forced me into this. And I've had people ask me this several times, like, did your mom just want a girl? Because that's just how it works. And I remember being little and wanting a Barbie doll, and my mom being like, no, you're not getting a Barbie doll because you're a boy and boys don't play with Barbie dolls. And I mean, there was pushback on everything from the time I was little, and it's not like my mom from the time I was little was like, oh, well, you were born a boy, but no, I wanted a girl, so you get to play with all these things, and you get to dress up differently. I'm not playing dress up. It's not just a lifestyle, which I see people compare it to all the time. I'm just living this way for the time being, and then somehow I'm just gonna switch back and start living a different way. And I know who I am. It's no secret or any question on my mind who I am. And I think just getting people to understand that can be really, really challenging, and it's ridiculous that, you wouldn't question anyone else's identity, but just because it's something that people don't understand, I think people are afraid of the unknown, and I think that plays in just so many different things, especially when it comes to trans issues.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and the real truth is that this isn't, like Christina said, it's not a lifestyle. This isn't who she wants to be. This isn't who she thinks she is. This isn't a mental illness. This isn't in any way anything other than it's like being left-handed. It's a normal variation that occurs among human beings. And for anyone who's listening that might think this is just craziness, that you couldn't possibly know who you are at a young age, ask yourself, when did you know that you were a man? When did you know that you were a woman? Did you have to be 8 or 10 or 15 to know who you were? Or did you already know when you were 3 or 4? Because we do. Our gender identity forms around the ages of 3 and 4.
It's really not something that...
So I know that there's a call-in number that is new for the station, and that's 702-983-0711. We've got about 5 minutes left for today. If anybody would like to call in. If not, we're going to be on the air again on Wednesday, and we would look forward to hearing from y'all. One thing I did want to mention is that what's been amazing with Clark County School District is that they have updated Infinite Campus about 1.5 years ago so that students can change their name and gender marker in the system, even if they haven't changed it legally.
Sadly, a lot of the school district doesn't know about this.
And they don't, because they haven't rolled it out across the board. They do just kind of handle these things on a case-by-case basis, but fortunately, now that we're moving forward with implementing either a policy or guidelines, we should see that those things are made more available to all principals throughout the district. And having that in place has just been an amazing gift and has alleviated the majority of the issues that a lot of young people go through at school. And so now I think that what we really need to focus on is just education. It's just getting people to kind of understand why we have these biases, why these things seem to be so out of the norm for us. What is it about our society? What is it about the way that we grow up that teaches us that this is so against nature? Because it's not. It is nature. This is the way that human beings are created in all different variations.
And it's really important to challenge the ideas that you may have grown up with, because I think with anything, human beings need to evolve, and I think we need to learn about things that maybe we just didn't learn about, and not just because we don't know these things and because this isn't something that is completely relevant in our lives. It doesn't mean that we can't learn about it and try and open our minds up to things. I think that, I mean, even for me, when I was transitioning, like I didn't know anything. I knew who I was, but I didn't know anything about these communities, and that's another important thing, is that like we just because I'm trans doesn't mean that I know everything about these communities, and I'm still learning, and I think it's amazing to just get to learn about how communities work and how we can all just come together.
Yeah, I think education is so incredibly important. It's a big part of what I do at Gender Justice Nevada is training throughout the school district, and then also with community organizations. It is important, it's absolutely essential for any organization that is dealing with the public to be informed and be educated on how to deal with sex-gender diverse communities. It is, we owe it to people to know what is appropriate and what's not appropriate, how to be respectful of folks. And anybody that is working with the public has a responsibility to be familiar with these things. And so, if anyone out there that's listening, if you're interested in training for your workplace, for your communities, for your school, please reach out to us, because we definitely want to make that available to anybody.
Email.
So, if anybody wants to get in touch with me, my email address is lhernandez@genderjusticenv.org. And if you would like information on government affairs, on advocacy for civil rights violations, or for document change assistance, then you can reach out to our government affairs coordinator, and his name is Tony Alexander. And Tony's email address is talexander@genderjusticenv.org. And if you just have just information, if you are interested in possibly being part of our Queer Anti-Violence Project advocacy training, which we do have one coming up, you can reach out to volunteer@genderjusticenv.org. And any questions, anything at all, please feel free to reach out to me. I want to be a resource for anyone in the community who's interested in learning more and knowing more about how to support young people and adults in our sex-gender diverse communities. What do you want to say when, in terms of your looking forward to what's happening with Clark County School District and implementing this policy? What are your hopes for how things are going to go?
Well, I really hope that it can just become something that's okay, and that it doesn't have to be something that's so heavily talked about and that has to be such a huge issue. I think just like with people being gay, I think like there's been such a huge thing about that within like the last 20 years, and I think people have started to come around to that. And I think just like with anything else that is new or shocking or provocative to people, I think people will start to understand that. And it's really amazing to see that we're kind of going in the right direction. And I've definitely seen that as I feel like sometimes I really did transition in the right time. I feel like when I transitioned, that was really when stuff started to happen and when I started to see change and movement. And so it's really amazing now finally, after there's been so much issue for so many years, that there's finally something that's happening that's at least a step in the right direction.
Right. It is not easy to put ourselves out in the way that we do. I have a lot of folks to thank for being out and vocal in the community and nationally about their stories that could led me to be able to get in a place to help my own kid, and that's what I hope to do for others. If you just take a look at any article on Facebook about transgender youth and read the comments, you will see the unbelievable amount of hatred and vile things that people think are okay to say about kids. And so putting ourselves in the position of being the target of a lot of that is really scary. And we do it because it's incredibly important to both of us, to our organization as a whole, to make change and to lead in making sure that we are moving forward with creating a better world for kids like Christina and for all the folks that are in our community. So thanks so much for joining us today, and I really look forward to being here next week, and we hope to hear from all of you. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
You guys.